What if everything you touch, see, and breathe is nothing more than a ghost image, like a projection from a deeper reality?
I mean, it sounds like the premise of a late-night sci-fi thriller,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But if we actually pull back the curtain on the absolute bleeding edge of theoretical physics and, well, neuroscience too, we find that the math is starting to point to exactly that.
Which is wild.
It is. We are talking about a fundamental questioning of what it even means to exist.
So I want you, the listener, to do something for a second. Just look at your hand, feel the device you're holding.
Right. Notice the weight of it.
Yeah, feel the weight of your own body in the chair you're sitting in. It feels undeniably real, solid.
Permanent.
It really does. But the mission of today's deep dive is to explore this staggering scientific and philosophical theory that suggests all of it. Your body, the ground beneath your feet, the stars in the night sky, is basically an illusion.
An incredibly convincing illusion.
Exactly. Specifically, it's proposing that we live in a three-dimensional hologram, and it's being generated by a deeper two-dimensional universe.
Which is just a massive concept to wrap your head around.
Right, and today we're pulling from the fascinating frameworks laid out in Theophany Christodoulou's Holocosmic Therapy, alongside those foundational concepts popularized by Michael Talbot's The Holographic Universe.
And I can promise you, by the time we wrap up this conversation, your relationship with the physical world is going to be fundamentally altered.
No pressure. Right.
Seriously, though, we're going to look at the mechanics of existence itself, peeling back the layers of space, time, and even human memory to show you the hidden architecture of the universe.
It really is a cinematic mystery.
But the clues aren't in a detective novel. They're written in quantum mechanics and neurobiology.
So let's just start by dismantling the grand illusion of the physical world. Because our sensory perception is fundamentally, almost comically flawed.
Very good.
We walk around thinking the world is made of solid stuff, right? Like a brick is a brick, a table is a table.
Yeah, but if we dive into the microscopic reality of matter, what we perceive as solid is, well, it's mostly empty space.
Right. To give that some scale, let's talk about the atoms that make up your body. We're all taught in grade school to picture an atom like a miniature solar system,
Yeah, with a nucleus in the middle and electrons orbiting around it like little planets.
But the scale of that model is entirely wrong.
It's so wrong.
Yeah.
If you scaled up the nucleus of a single atom to, say, the size of a standard glass marble.
Okay, a marble.
Right, and you place it right in the center of a massive football stadium, the nearest electron wouldn't be orbiting at the 50-yard line.
Where would it be?
It'd be half a mile away, out in the parking lot.
Wow. And between that marble and that distant electron?
Nothing. Pure, unadulterated void.
And you are composed of trillions of these atoms.
Exactly. Which means biologically, you are 99.999, just a ridiculous amount of 9% empty space.
Yet somehow your brain interprets this immense void as solid, continuous, impenetrable matter.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is. And here's where I have to play the logical explainer, because this is always the first major hurdle for anyone trying to grasp this stuff.
Fair enough.
If matter is almost entirely empty space, why does a brick wall feel solid? Like, if I sprint headfirst into a brick wall, my mind isn't constructing some gentle philosophical illusion.
Oh, you're getting a concussion.
Exactly, I am getting a concussion. Why does our reality feel so incredibly, unforgivingly hard?
Okay, so when your hand or your head hits a wall, empty space isn't hitting empty space.
What's hitting them?
The electromagnetic fields. The fields of the atoms in your hand are repelling the electromagnetic fields of the atoms in the wall.
Oh, like magnets.
Exactly like taking two powerful magnets and trying to force their identical poles together.
Yeah.
You feel that intense invisible resistance pushing back against your hands. Right.
Yeah, you can't see the barrier, but you absolutely feel it.
Right. So what you perceive as solid is just the localized resistance of interacting energy fields.
That is so weird to think about.
Your brain receives these frequency signals, this electromagnetic pushback, and it translates them into the sensory experience you call hardness.
So solidity is basically a translation error.
Or a highly efficient evolutionary interface.
Right. My brain isn't showing me reality. It's giving me a user-friendly desktop icon so I don't, fall through the floor.
Exactly. It's practical.
And that brings us to how particles behave before we even touch them. because at the subatomic level, particles don't even exist as solid objects until they're observed.
Right. They exist as waves of probability.
The source text points out that matter is basically energy concentrated at a certain density, vibrating at a specific frequency.
Hmm.
But things get truly dizzying when we bring Einstein's theory of relativity into the mix.
Yeah, relativity fundamentally broke our common sense understanding of reality.
It really did.
It revealed that matter is simply the curving of space into the fourth dimension, which is time.
Okay, so the observable universe we navigate every day is what the mathematician Hermann Minkowski called Minkowski space.
Yes.
Let's break down Minkowski space because that term gets thrown around in physics lectures, but rarely actually explained. How should we visualize it?
Okay, imagine you're looking at a completely flat, two-dimensional shadow cast on a wall.
All right, I'm picturing it.
By looking at the shadow, you can guess the shape of the three-dimensional object casting it, say, an apple.
Sure.
Minkowski space posits that our entire three-dimensional universe, height, width, and depth, is essentially the shadow of a four-dimensional reality.
Oh!
Yeah. Space and time aren't separate things. They're woven together into a single fabric called space-time.
We just lack the sensory organs to perceive the fourth dimension directly.
Exactly. So our brain slices it up into 3D frames. Space and time, as we experience them, are mental creations.
They're just the translation software our brain uses to make sense of this underlying field of frequencies.
You nailed it.
Meaning we are basically living in a perpetual delay.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's ground this in the listener's daily experience. Think about your morning commute. The sun is shining on your face. You feel the warmth.
It feels like it's happening right now.
Right. But the light hitting your skin right now is a picture from 8 minutes ago. The speed of light creates a cosmic lag.
It's inescapable.
When you look at the stars at night, you're looking thousands, sometimes millions of years into the past. Some of those stars might have already exploded, but their light is just now reaching your retina.
And it scales all the way down to the micro level, too.
Like what?
Even the device you are holding right now. The light from its screen takes a fraction of a nanosecond to reach your eyes.
Oh, wow.
The nerve impulses take milliseconds to travel from your fingertips to your brain. You have never, not once in your entire life, experienced the actual present.
That is deeply unsettling.
Right. The universe you interact with is entirely a projection of the past.
If there is no universal present moment that applies everywhere at once, then time isn't a flowing river. Time, in the deeper reality, must be an indivisible, eternal moment.
Physicists often refer to this as the block universe theory.
A block universe.
Yeah, the concepts of past, present, and future are a mental trap created by the limitations of our sensory processing.
So in the real universe, all of time exists simultaneously.
Exactly. We are just moving a flashlight across a dark room, calling whatever the beam hits the present, but the whole room, the past and the future, is already there, fully constructed.
Okay, so if we're biologically wired to project this delayed, solid-feeling hologram out of empty space and time, there has to be a mechanism for it.
There is.
How did science actually figure out that the brain works this way?
Well, that requires looking at two parallel tracks of scientific inquiry that collided in the mid-20th century. In a truly miraculous way, honestly.
We're talking about David Bohm and Carl Pribram.
Right. David Bohm was a Nobel-winning quantum physicist, and Carl Pribram was a world-renowned neurophysiologist.
Completely different fields.
Totally different. Working completely independently, they reached the exact same mind-bending conclusion. The universe is a hologram, and the brain is the projector.
Let's unpack Pribram first, because his journey starts with laboratory rats and a biological mystery.
Yeah, Pribram was trying to solve the riddle of human memory.
Which was a big deal at the time. For decades, the prevailing scientific belief was that memories were localized.
Right. They thought the brain was like a massive library, with specific memories stored on specific shelves in the cerebral cortex.
Pribram was working alongside another famous psychologist, Carl Lashley. In the 1920s, Lashley was obsessed with finding the enneagram.
The enneagram, yeah. That's the physical, localized trace of memory in the brain.
So Lashley trained rats to run complex mazes to find food.
And once the rat had memorized the maze, Lashley would surgically remove a tiny portion of the rat's brain. He assumed he would eventually cut out the specific tissue where the maze memory was stored.
But that's not what happened.
Not at all. Lashley could slice out varying parts of the rat's brains, sometimes massive portions of the cortex, and incredibly, the rats could still run the maze.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Their motor skills might be impaired, they might stumble, but the memory itself was never erased.
Pribram looked at this data and realized the prevailing library model of the brain was completely wrong.
Memory isn't localized on a specific shelf. It is distributed everywhere, throughout the entire brain.
Which didn't make any sense biologically until Pribram encountered the concept of holography.
Exactly.
Let's walk through the literal mechanics of a physical hologram because it is crucial to understanding this entire deep dive.
It really is the foundation of the whole theory.
Most people think of a hologram as a shiny sticker or like a CGI projection in a sci-fi movie.
Right.
But a true optical hologram is created through a very specific process involving light interference.
Okay, so to create a hologram, you start with a single laser beam.
Okay.
You shine that laser through a beam splitter, kind of like a half-silvered mirror, which divides the laser into two separate beams.
So now we have two lasers.
Right. One beam, called the reference beam, bounces off a mirror and hits a piece of 2D photographic film. The other beam, called the illumination beam, bounces off the object you want to record, let's say an apple, and then hits the exact same piece of 2D film.
So both beams end up on the flat film.
Exactly. And when those two laser beams collide on the film, they create an interference pattern.
Now, if you look at the 2D film with the naked eye, you won't see a picture of an apple, right?
No, not at all. It looks like a messy fingerprint or a bunch of overlapping concentric ripples.
Like if you drop two handfuls of pebbles into a still pond at the same time, the ripples crash into each other, creating peaks and troughs.
Perfect analogy. That complex pattern of intersecting waves is recorded on the film.
But the magic happens during the playback phase?
Yes. If you take another laser and shine it directly through that flat, messy 2D interference pattern,
A fully three-dimensional glowing apple appears in midair.
it does. The 2D surface contains the mathematical code required to reconstruct a 3D object.
And here is the absolute miracle of the hologram, the detail that really blew Pribram's mind.
Oh, this is the best part.
If you take a normal photograph of a dog and you cut it in half, you have one piece with the dog's head and one piece with the dog's tail.
Right, you lose half the information.
But if you take that 2D holographic film containing the interference pattern of the apple and you cut it in half,
Yeah.
and then you shine a laser through just one of the halves.
You don't get half an apple.
No, you get the entire 3D apple.
It's wild. You can cut that film into tiny quarters or smash it into 100 microscopic fragments.
Yeah.
If you shine a laser through any single tiny fragment, it will still project the entire whole image.
The resolution might get a bit fuzzier, the image might be a little grainier, but the blueprint of the whole is somehow contained in every single part.
That was Pribram's eureka moment. The brain processes memory and reality exactly like a piece of holographic film.
The brain mathematically constructs the 3D world by reading interfering wave patterns, frequencies coming in from the outside environment.
It translates a world of pure frequency into the 3D movie we experience.
And because it's a hologram, the memory of your first kiss or the smell of your childhood home isn't stored in a single neuron.
No, it's encoded in the interference patterns distributed across your entire neural network.
So while Pribram was figuring out the holographic brain, David Bohm was dealing with a similar crisis in quantum physics.
Yeah, Bohm had worked on plasma gases containing high densities of electrons.
And what did he find?
He noticed that once electrons were in a plasma, they stopped behaving like individual independent particles. They started behaving like an interconnected living organism.
Wow.
He found that subatomic particles could communicate instantaneously across vast distances, entirely ignoring the speed of light.
Which Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance.
Right, because it violated the known laws of physics.
If nothing can travel faster than light, how can two particles separated by galaxies know exactly what the other is doing?
Bohm realized the only way this made sense was if the universe itself was structured like a hologram.
So he theorized a deeper order of existence, dividing reality into two layers.
Exactly. The first layer he called the implicate or folded order. Think of this as the timeless, spaceless, unified field of pure frequency.
The underlying invisible reality.
Right. And the second layer is the explicate or unfolded order. This is the 3D physical reality we see, touch, and interact with.
The explicate order is constantly unfolding out of the implicate order, just like the 3D apple unfolds out of the 2D interference pattern when the laser hits it.
When you combine Bohm and Pribram, you get a model of existence that induces profound visionary wonder.
It really does. If the universe is a hologram, it means every single piece of the universe contains the whole.
The listener sitting there right now, You contain the entire universe within you.
The quantum information of the whole cosmos is folded into every cell, every atom of your body.
You aren't an isolated object moving through an empty void. You are the universe expressing a localized version of itself.
It gives you vertigo to even think about it. But skeptics might say, okay, Bowman-Pribram theorized this back in the 70s and 80s. It's a elegant philosophical metaphor. How does modern science view this? Are we just relying on mid-century theories, or is 21st century physics backing this up?
Oh, it absolutely backs it up.
The source text brings up some major heavy hitters here. Juan Lassina, Dr. Daniel Grummeler, and the late Stephen Hawking.
Modern physics hasn't discarded the holographic principle at all. It has increasingly relied on it. The math of the universe simply works better when we assume the hologram is real.
Look at string theory. Physicists were struggling to reconcile gravity with quantum mechanics.
Right. String theory suggests that gravity is produced by vibrating strings, tiny, one-dimensional loops of energy.
And some physicists propose that these strings, specifically ones called gravitons, project three-dimensional gravitational events from the cosmic horizon of a flat, two-dimensional universe.
The pivotal moment for this came in 1997 with a physicist named Juan Maldacena.
What did he do?
He published a paper detailing what is now called the AD-SCFT correspondence.
Okay, let's keep it accessible.
Without getting bogged down in the intensely complex equations, Maldacena showed a mathematical relationship where a complex 3D space with gravity can be perfectly mathematically described by a 2D boundary without gravity.
Wait, how do we visualize that? The text used an analogy, right?
Yeah, the soup can analogy.
Uh-huh.
Imagine a can of soup. The 3D space inside the can is full of complex ingredients interacting with each other.
Okay.
Maldacena proved that all the complex physics happening inside the 3D soup can perfectly mirror the physics described on the flat 2D paper label wrapped around the outside of the can.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the 2D boundary holds the exact same information as the 3D interior.
That perfectly sets up the concept of entropy entanglement. Researchers have used this flat space-time theory to measure how particles remain intimately connected across vast cosmic distances.
Right.
Walk me through the mechanism of quantum entanglement, because it directly proves Bohm's theory of the implicate order.
Okay, imagine two subatomic particles that are created together, interacting in such a way that their quantum states are linked.
They're entangled.
Right. We separate these two particles. We leave one in a lab on Earth, and we send the other on a rocket to the other side of the Milky Way galaxy.
So they're incredibly far apart.
If a scientist on Earth alters the spin of the particle in their lab, the particle across the galaxy will instantly, simultaneously alter its spin to match.
Not a second later. Instantly.
Instantly, bypassing the speed of light entirely.
This shatters our traditional understanding of space. How is the signal traveling?
The holographic principle provides the answer. The signal isn't traveling at all.
Because distance is an illusion.
Exactly. The distance between them is an illusion of the 3D explicate order. In the deeper 2D implicate order, those two particles are not separated by millions of light years. They are the exact same point on the holographic film.
That connects directly to Stephen Hawking's groundbreaking work on black holes.
Oh, the information paradox.
Right. Hawking spent years grappling with this.
Yeah.
If a book falls into a black hole and the black hole eventually evaporates over billions of years, what happens to the information inside that book?
Because quantum mechanics says information can never be destroyed. So where did it go?
Hawking and his colleagues proposed a brilliant solution shortly before his death. They suggested that the 3D information of anything that falls into a black hole isn't lost forever in the void.
It is stored as a 2D hologram on the edge of the black hole, a boundary known as the event horizon.
They call the phenomenon of storing this data supertranslation.
Yeah, the event horizon acts like a cosmic hard drive. As an object passes through it, its 3D structural code is flattened and saved on the 2D surface.
To make this mechanism relatable, the text uses the analogy of a credit card security hologram.
You know that little silver, highly reflective sticker on your credit card?
Yeah, if you run your finger over it, it's a completely flat 2D surface.
But when light hits it at the right angle, it projects a 3D image of a dove or a globe floating above the card.
The 2D surface holds the mathematical code, and the 3D image is the projection.
Right, and in Hawking's model, the 2D event horizon holds the source code. The 3D universe we experience is the glowing dove.
When you look back at human history, it is fascinating to see how philosophy anticipated this long before particle accelerators existed.
Oh, absolutely. Consider Plato's allegory of the cave.
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Plato asked us to imagine prisoners who have been chained in a dark cave their entire lives, facing a blank wall.
Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners, people walk by carrying various objects.
The prisoners only see the 2D shadows of these objects cast on the wall.
And because that is all they have ever known, they mistake the 2D shadows for the entirety of reality, completely unaware of the 3D objects or the light source creating them.
Plato is essentially outlining the holographic principle. We are looking at shadows cast by a deeper reality.
Every physical object you hold dear, your own body, the chair you are sitting in, they are all essentially highly advanced information being projected from a cosmic boundary.
So if we are part of this grand cosmic projection, the macrocosm of the entire universe must be reflected in the microcosm of the human body.
Because the holographic rule dictates that the part contains the whole. Christodoulou's text delves deeply into this, pointing out the uncanny visual and functional similarities between human biology and astrophysics.
We see this clearly through the lens of fractals, patterns that repeat themselves at every scale of existence, from the microscopic to the galactic.
The text highlights a famous visual comparison.
Yeah, if you look at a photograph of the cosmic web, the large-scale structure of the universe showing clusters of galaxies connected by filaments of dark matter,
Right.
and you place it next to a microscopic photograph of the neural networks in the human brain, they are visually indistinguishable.
Both form these intricate, glowing webs with nodes of intense activity. They are both essentially egg-shaped in their structural distribution.
As above, so below.
But the source material takes this a step further, crossing into territory that usually makes traditional scientists uncomfortable.
You're talking about the human aura.
I am. Now, aura reading is typically relegated to the realm of mystics or psychics. But through the rigorous lens of the holographic theory, it transforms into an electromagnetic mechanism.
The text frames the human aura not as a glowing magic cloud, but as our personal biological event horizon.
Think back to Hawking's black hole. Just as a black hole's event horizon stores holographic information about the 3D objects inside it, the human aura stores the quantum information of our physical, mental, and emotional states.
Because the body naturally emits an electromagnetic field. This is a measurable biological fact. It's how an EKG machine reads your heart's electrical activity.
The text posits that the surrounding field holds the 2D interference patterns of your biological state.
So, when someone claims to be able to read an aura to diagnose an illness, what are they actually doing in a holographic framework?
They are acting as a frequency decoder.
The text notes that highly sensitive individuals can perceive these electromagnetic frequencies.
Because the 2D field holds the blueprint for the 3D body, an illness or dysfunction will manifest as an information distortion in the aura before it fully downloads or physically manifests in the 3D tissue.
Right. They are reading the corrupted code on the event horizon before the graphics rendering engine displays the glitch on the screen.
This brings me to a detail from the source material that I frankly struggled with.
The navel point.
Yeah. The text draws a parallel between cosmic phenomena and human anatomy, specifically the navel. It suggests that just as a white hole or a wormhole serves as a bridge connecting different realities, the umbilical cord and the navel it leaves behind serves as the human singularity point.
It is the biological center of gravity where the universe of the child was tethered to the mother.
Sure, I track the metaphor. It is the biological entry point of life, the origin of your physical projection.
Right.
But then the text suggests a physical manipulation of this point. It claims that if you take a pencil, place the flat, unsharpened end on your navel, and gently turn it, it can balance the aura's energy.
It claims this manipulation of the human singularity point can cure simple ailments like headaches.
I have to push back hard here. If the aura is a 2D quantum frequency field, how does physically twisting a 3D wooden pencil on a biological belly button affect the underlying quantum code?
Yeah, it sounds a bit out there.
That feels like trying to fix a software bug on your laptop by wiping the monitor with a microfiber cloth.
It's a very fair critique. To bridge that gap, we have to look at the body as a piezoelectric system.
Okay, explain that.
The physical matter of your body is interwoven with your electromagnetic field. The pencil itself isn't rewriting quantum code with wood and graphite.
Good to know.
Rather, the localized rhythmic physical pressure on a dense nerve cluster, which the navel is in, acts as a focal point. It grounds the nervous system.
Okay, so by creating a physical grounding resonance at the body's center of gravity, you are sending a biological feedback loop into the nervous system.
Exactly, which then stabilizes the electromagnetic field it emits. The pencil is just a focal tool to trigger a frequency realignment, much like striking a tuning fork.
Okay, viewing it as a biomechanical trigger for frequency resonance makes much more sense.
Yeah, it grounds it in biology.
But this idea of actively manipulating the hologram leads us directly to the most mind-bending part of our deep dive: mind over matter and holographic glitches.
If our bodies are projectors, can we hack the feed? Can we change the movie?
This theory attempts to explain the unexplainable things like near-death experiences, telepathy, and so-called miracles.
Let's look at near-death experiences, or NDEs.
Mm-hmm.
A fascinating psychological reality is that across wildly different cultures, regardless of a person's religious background, individuals who briefly die and are resuscitated report remarkably similar experiences.
The most common motif is passing through a dark tunnel, moving toward a bright, all-encompassing light.
Right. In a holographic universe model, physics might interpret that tunnel not as a mystical pathway to the pearly gates, but as a literal traversal.
You are moving through a wormhole out of the 3D projection and slipping back into the underlying 2D reality.
You are stepping off the explicate order. As your biological projector shuts down, your consciousness transitions from localized matter back into the unified field of pure frequency.
And the light.
The light is the unfiltered, unprojected energy of the implicate order.
Wow. But to understand how we might manipulate this hologram while we are still alive and walking around, we have to examine how the brain processes time.
The source text leans heavily on a famous paradigm-shifting experiment by neuroscientist John Dylan Haynes in 2008.
Haynes wanted to find out exactly when a human makes a conscious choice.
The methodology of Haynes' experiment is crucial here. He put subjects inside an fMRI scanner, which tracks blood flow in the brain, allowing scientists to see which areas light up during specific tasks.
Okay.
The subjects were given a screen flashing random letters and two buttons, one in their left hand, one in their right.
Simple enough.
They were told to simply press either button whenever they felt the urge, and to remember the specific letter that was on the screen the exact moment they consciously made the decision to press.
So Haynes is watching their brain activity in real time, waiting to see the motor cortex light up when they decide to act.
And what he found literally shakes the foundation of human free will.
Because Haynes discovered a massive delay.
Huge. By monitoring the prefrontal cortex, the area associated with high-level decision-making, the computer could predict which button the subject was going to press up to 6 to 10 seconds before the subject consciously knew they were going to press it.
Up to 10 seconds.
10 whole seconds.
In neuroscience, a 10-second gap between brain activity and conscious thought is an absolute eternity.
Let's apply this to the listener. Think about making your coffee this morning. You reached out, debated between the blue mug and the red mug, and chose the red one.
You felt like you made a spontaneous, conscious choice.
But according to Haynes' data, your subconscious brain had already processed the variables, made the choice, and initiated the neural sequence up to 10 seconds before the thought, "I'll take the red mug," ever crossed your conscious mind.
Your brain essentially downloads the impending physical reality from the unified field, translates those wave frequencies into a localized sequence, and projects it outward.
You are living on a delay. You are watching a movie your subconscious has already downloaded and buffered.
Which begs an enormous question. If we're living on a delay, constantly trailing behind our own subconscious programming, how do spontaneous miracles happen?
Right.
How does telepathy happen? If someone suddenly experiences a spontaneous remission of a disease or impossibly lifts a car off a trapped child, how does the holographic theory explain that?
Under the holographic model, miracles are not magic. They are not a violation of the laws of physics. They are simply an application of higher quantum physics.
To understand this, we have to look at the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, famously illustrated by Schrödinger's cat.
Let's lay out Schrödinger's cat clearly because it is the linchpin of this idea. Erwin Schrödinger proposed a thought experiment. You place a cat in a sealed steel box along with a Geiger counter, a tiny amount of radioactive material, and a vial of poison gas.
If the radioactive material decays, the Geiger counter detects it, triggers a hammer, breaks the vial, and the gas kills the cat. If it doesn't decay, the cat lives.
But the decay of the atom is a pure quantum event. It is governed by probability. Until you open the box and look inside, the atom exists in a state of superposition.
Meaning it has both decayed and not decayed.
Therefore, according to quantum mechanics, until the box is opened and observed, the cat is simultaneously both dead and alive. It exists as a wave of infinite possibilities.
The wave function collapses into a single definitive particle, a single reality, Only when a conscious observer opens the box and looks.
Consciousness forces the universe to choose a lane.
Exactly. Now, apply that to the holographic projection of a human life. A
Mhm.
miracle or a telepathic event is a holographic glitch.
It occurs when human consciousness elevates its frequency to such an intense degree that it bypasses the brain's standard 10-second buffering delay.
The individual accesses the 2D plane of pure potentiality and actively selects a different reality to collapse into the 3D world.
The common analogy here is realizing you are a character in a video game like Neo in the Matrix.
Normally, you are just playing by the rules of the rendering engine. Gravity pulls you down, bullets hurt you.
But if you suddenly gain access to the developer console, you can rewrite the code and stop the bullets in midair.
I would refine that analogy slightly to fit the holographic model, though.
How so?
It's not just accessing the developer console. It is realizing that the video game, the console, the screen, and the player are all made of the exact same underlying substance.
Ah, I see.
When a person elevates their frequency, whether through profound meditation, intense emotional shock, or absolute, unwavering belief, they aren't just hacking the code, they are momentarily remembering that they are the code.
They tune into the implicate order and pull down a different holographic film to project.
But doing that on command is incredibly difficult for the average person trapped in the daily grind of the 3D world.
We are distracted, stressed, and locked into our biological buffering delays.
Which brings us to the final major piece of this puzzle: practical application. If consciousness can select a different reality, what tools exist to help us change our frequency and access the best possible holographic film?
This is where Christodoulou introduces the concept of holocosmic therapy.
This is where the theory moves from abstract physics to applied personal engineering.
We established earlier that in a hologram, every piece contains the whole. Christodoulou argues a radical point based on this logic. A 2D photograph of an object, whether it's a planet, a star, or a complex symbolic archetype, contains the exact same vibrational essence and quantum information as the massive 3D object itself.
Let's slow down and examine that because it sounds absurd on its face. You are telling me that a 2D paper photograph of Jupiter isn't just a picture of Jupiter.
Because of the holographic principle, that flat image actually holds the specific frequency code of the actual gas giant millions of miles away.
Think back to the credit card hologram. The 2D surface holds the code of the 3D object. In a holographic universe, shape, geometry, and image are not separate from the object.
They are the 2D interference patterns of the object. A photograph of a planet captures the interference pattern of its specific frequency.
And the source material goes even further, applying this to the archetypes of the Greek gods.
Now, to be explicitly clear, we are maintaining total neutrality here. The text isn't framing these gods as literal religious deities sitting on clouds.
We are looking at them through the lens of Carl Jung's archetypes. They are psychological blueprints, symbolic frequencies of the collective unconscious: the warrior, the mother, the healer, the communicator.
Exactly. They represent highly concentrated, specific emotional and psychological frequencies that humanity has projected over millennia.
So if reality is holographic, then a discipline like astrology undergoes a massive paradigm shift.
Under this framework, astrology isn't a mystical fortune-telling device where massive rocks in space emit magical rays that force you to be stubborn or creative.
Right, gravity from Mars isn't making me angry.
Instead, a birth chart is essentially a holographic map. It is the 2D film containing the specific interference patterns of the cosmic frequencies present the moment you were born.
It outlines the probabilities, the potential scripts of your 3D projection.
And Christodoulou's text offers a biological hack for this. By creating what they call essences, which involves placing a 2D photograph of a planet or an archetypal symbol underwater, supposedly capturing the frequency of the image in the water's molecular structure.
Humans can ingest that pure, positive, archetypal energy. You drink the frequency code to attune your own biological projector. They call them vibrescences.
For listeners wondering how water could possibly store a 2D image's frequency, the framework relies on the concept of water memory and somatics.
Water is a highly conductive, crystalline structure capable of absorbing and holding resonance.
Just as sound waves can force sand on a metal plate to form complex geometric patterns, that somatics, the theoretical framework of holocosmic therapy suggests water can absorb the subtle geometric frequency emitted by the holographic blueprint of the photograph.
Whether you buy into the mechanism of water memory or not, the philosophical implication of trying to tune your own frequency brings up the ultimate debate: the illusion of free will versus the freedom of the soul.
Einstein famously believed the universe was deterministic. He believed free will was an illusion, that we all dance to a tune played by an invisible piper.
Haynes' 10-second delay experiment seems to aggressively support that, but quantum mechanics offers a loophole.
The loophole is found in quantum computing. Classical computers use binary logic zeros and ones. A switch is either on or off.
But quantum computers use qubits, which operate in a state of superposition, meaning they can be a 0 and a 1 simultaneously.
Apply this to the universe. This suggests that multiple realities, multiple timelines, and multiple outcomes exist all at once in the implicate order.
The universe isn't a single pre-written book. It's a massive library of every possible book.
By attuning our frequency, whether through meditation, focused intent, or tools like these vibrescences, our consciousness can select the optimal path.
We aren't changing the predetermined possibilities. We are freely choosing which pre-written script we want our projector to play.
We navigate the block universe. The movie is already shot, but your soul is the editor, constantly choosing which camera angle makes it into the final cut.
You are both the creator and the creation. You are the projector, the film, and the audience all at once.
We have covered a staggering, overwhelming amount of ground today.
We started by hollowing out the atom, proving that the solid matter you are sitting on is 99.99% empty space.
We explored how Carl Perbrum's maze-running rats and David Bohm's plasma research led to the revelation that the human brain and the universe itself are holographic structures.
We looked at how modern string theory and Hawking's black hole event horizons validate the idea that our 3D lives are projections from a 2D boundary.
We even explored the mechanics of near-death wormholes, the 10-second delay of human free will, and the use of 2D images to hack our biological projectors.
It all synthesizes into a single, dizzying truth. The physical world, the hard walls that bruise you, the ticking clock that stresses you out, it is all a ghost image.
It is a secondary reality downloaded from a 2D cosmic horizon. Grasping this gives you a profound sense of existential vertigo.
Everything you are holding on to, everything you fear losing is just a projection.
Beneath the illusion of separation, you are an inseparable part of an infinite, eternal, unified field.
Which leaves you, the listener, with one final haunting question to mull over as you go back to your day.
As you look at your hands, as you touch the world around you.
If the universe is just a grand illusion, if your brain is merely the projector rendering the code, and your reality is just a hologram playing out on the screen of space and time,
Who is the one watching the movie?